Hey, hello. Happy Sunday evening, I guess, here. I'm in Orange County, California. Oh, hi, Danielle. I'm so excited that you're on. I wasn't sure if I was going to be talking into the abyss, which is always slightly awkward, but here we are. So happy to see a familiar name on the screen. And Danielle, hi, yay. So let's just say if you have a question, because the way these work, I can only see them if you type them in. So even if I don't get to it ASAP, like right in the second that you write it, I'll keep looking at the questions below just in case you guys have any comments or anything to share to the group. Um, you can also share into the group chat if you want. So if there's something that you wanted to add or a tip that you have or a hack, we're a community-based learning situation here. And as I've said a bunch of times, I am absolutely not a professional chef. So I just want to always announce that these recipes and these cooking sessions are really to help you stay on track to make healthier meals, to cook more in your kitchen, and to cook at home. And they're actually really simple because you all know that cooking at home can be time consuming. And while I love making yummy, delicious recipes, I reserve that usually for the weekends when I have a little bit more time. So during the week when I'm working full time, um, it's way easier to have these like simple staple ways of cooking, knowing that I can get really nice healthy fresh meals at home, and it doesn't need to be really complicated. So tonight we're going to be making baked salmon. So I've been making a ton of baked fish lately. It's been my saving grace because number one, a fish defrosts super fast. So one of the biggest things that can be a roadblock when you're cooking at home is the dreaded you're at work and you're like, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? And you realize you forgot to take some protein out of the freezer. So, fish for the win defrosts really quickly. I get my fish for the last several months from Wild Alaskan Company, and I must say I really enjoy it. The fish is really great, the quality is really good, the packaging is great because it's getting shipped to your house, and there's always the concern: is it going to be frozen? This is fish. What's that going to be like? But so far, so good. I get all types of salmon. I get cod. I get halibut, rockfish, and I think you can customize. I'm not an expert and I'm not affiliated. I just like to share what works for me. So here's the salmon, for example, that we're going to be cooking tonight, or I'm going to be cooking. It's so yummy. Um, and it's so easy. Like literally, we're gonna put olive oil, salt, and pepper, and then pop it in the oven at 400 for 14 to 15 minutes. I tend to go over on my time because I'm funny about the temperature, and I've been trying to be better because it's honestly better when you don't overcook it. Salmon, in theory, and anyone who knows always drop the line of knowledge. We obviously can eat salmon sushi, and I believe you can eat salmon a little bit less cooked in the center. But because I am funny and I like to make sure it's cooked, I do the same thing with my chicken. I tend to to err on a little bit more. But again, I've been practicing so that it's not super dry because there's nothing worse than dry fish. Um, and then we're also going to be making quinoa, and this is your opportunity to meal prep now. So if you're going to make quinoa or if you're going to make brown rice, whatever grain you chose, it really doesn't matter. They're all great. Um, double, at least double what you're going to make so that you have some for tomorrow at the very least. Same with the vegetables. So I suggested a yellow zucchini or squash, a zucchini. We're going to do some cauliflower. And then I just had two little bell peppers left over. So I'm going to throw that into my vegetable medley. If you have something else you want to add, broccoli, asparagus, some small red potatoes or something like that, be creative, be flexible. Um, that's the best advice I can give when being in the kitchen. You want to be able to not hold fast and tight to the rules. Which, speaking of, we are going to make the lemon dill dressing with fresh dill, and I'm the one in charge. And guess what? When I went to the store the other day, I forgot the fresh dill, and it's raining today. And I figured this was a teachable moment. I do have dry dill. So it's one of the staple seasonings that I like to have in my seasoning drawer. So today, instead of stressing out about it, you guys use fresh dill. It's so good with fresh dill, but I'm just going to use the dry dill. And if you're like me and you forgot and you have dry dill, perfect. Um, And if you forgot the dill altogether, you can still make a really great dressing with just lemon, olive oil, salt, and pepper. So there's always an option, especially when we have our pantry stocked with staples and our fridge stocked with staples. All right, let's just jump to it and get started. All right. Hi, Sabrina. Okay, so let's get started. I always like to go in order of operations of what's going to take the longest or what can also sit. So I'm going to start with quinoa. So we're going to start with the grain. I've already measured out a cup. And what I like to do always before I cook any of my grains. If I don't soak them, and which I didn't soak the quinoa, you can soak. I always do rinse them. So at the very least, I rinse. So I suggest having one of these little handy like siffer guys. And I'm gonna go to the sink right now. And I'm not technologically savvy enough to turn the phone, but I wanted to show you guys this. And I'm gonna rinse my quinoa for a minute. And so get your grain, measure it out, the amount that's going to work for you. So I do like this freestyle where you guys have to think a little bit on your own. So that you can actually build confidence. You know, how much quinoa do you need? I only eat it. Josh does not like quinoa in my household. So this is just for me. So I'm making a cup, which will be plenty for me to have like today, tomorrow, maybe the next day. So I'm going to rinse and I'll be right back. You guys do the same. Popping back in. Weird boss head popping in the video. Um, yeah. So just rinse for like just count like a slow minute, or you can kind of tell. And I like to make sure I get all the little grains rinsed. I'm moving the water around and stuff like that. And I'm so excited that you guys got onto the Substack and you figured it out. When I was getting ready just now, Josh is like, how many people are going to be on your cooking session? I'm like, honestly, I have no idea. And it's likely that nobody's going to be live with me. So, Sabrina and Danielle, what a treat. I miss you guys. Like 20 more seconds if you're rinsing your grain. And you can usually tell when it's ready because the water will run clear. So even if it's jasmine rice or I'm using the rainbow quinoa, you can start to tell that it's been rinsed when the water runs clear. So even if you lose track of how long you're rinsing, you're looking for nice clear water. All right, mine's good. I'm gonna place my little sifter of quinoa. Now I'm gonna start the water. So we're gonna get a cup and a half. So I'm gonna do a cup and a half to 1 cup. If you did 2 cups, just double it. I'm not an expert at math, so if you did something other than 1 or 2 cups, best of luck. You could always chat GPT or Google it. So I'm gonna grab my water. And then we'll set that down. I'm gonna put my water on the stove. And you can do it. I've seen people do it. I've seen people do it both ways where they get the water to a boil first and then they put the quinoa in. I just put it all in, bring it to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and cover it. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, that's done. Let's set, because my memory in the kitchen goes, I'm gonna set a timer for like 3 minutes so that I don't forget about my quinoa cooking on the stove because I'm guilty of that. Okay, the next thing you want to do, we should have done this actually already, is turn your oven on. So turn your oven on to 400. I have a little mini oven as well. So I'm going to turn my little oven on to 400, and that's where I cook my salmon. My big oven actually isn't the greatest, so I prefer my little mini oven. It works fabulous, and it also it helps because I don't have a double oven, so it's kind of like my double oven system. I'll put the vegetables in my big oven. If you only have one oven, um, we'll just do side by side pans. So this is my pan for the veggies, but you could always, you know, side by side in the oven. and just do that. If you have an air fryer, you could do, I don't know, air frying the fish freaks me out a little bit, but you could always air fry the vegetables. And if you're brave, you can air fry the fish. Let's see. Do you ever, oh, yes, great idea. Thanks for the question, Danielle. And I did mean to say that. I do use broth. So sometimes Danielle asks, do I ever use broth? 100%. So if you have broth, you could always substitute the broth for your grain to give it a little bit more, not only nutrient density, but it's going to be a little bit more rich in flavor. So broths are always a fantastic idea. Anytime you can, in my opinion, boost the nutrient density of the food that you're eating, add a little pizzazz, as my friend Red Jen would say. I think, yes, yes, yes. So we got that going. We got our ovens on, and then now we're going to cut our vegetables. The vegetables technically roast a smidge longer than the salmon. So I'm going to do the salmon last, and the salmon's the easiest. So I'm going to take my salmon and set it aside, and we'll deal with that in a second. And let's just get to cutting our vegetables. So, um, even pieces. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule here on how you're going to cut your vegetables. You just want them to be even in size. So do your best now. And again, so I'm going to do, again, I have a picky eater. And so a lot of times people are like, I don't like cooking at home because I'm a single, or, everyone likes different things. I think we all have to deal with it. So these vegetables are for me. And so I'm going to make exactly what you see here, and that should last me a few days. You use your discretion, though, on what you need and how many vegetables you think you're going to eat. To give you some ideas of ways that you can use your vegetables, they're obviously great for dinner the next day, lunch, and a whole. They're delicious. All these vegetables that we're cooking tonight are super good, just cold the next day in a salad. I love to use the vegetables for, oh, see, I would have forgotten about the quinoa. And mine's just about ready. So check your grain if you have it. I'm going to stir mine a little bit. And now we'll cover it. I'm going to reduce the heat, set another timer. And I always go a little less than the suggested time. So I'm going to do 15 minutes. It suggests like 18, but I always do a little less so I can check. And I think I have PTSD from like burning grains to the bottom of my pan in the past. So timers are my best friend in the kitchen. And I go conservative because it's always, you can always cook it more. All right. So back to our vegetables. My other thing that I was going to say is I love using them in the morning with eggs, like making like omelets and stuff. And it makes me feel fancy making vegetable scrambles or omelets. So, and I love, it's always a win when you get a solid serving of vegetables in the morning. You're already off to a good start. So that's my philosophy when I'm eating. I, of course, want my food to taste good, but what I've learned is when you're eating like whole foods like these, they're they're always good anyways. You really don't have to do much to them to make them good. Real whole foods are good. So I try to keep it simple, and I try to remind myself of that. And I try to keep nice fresh ingredients, herbs and spices in my pantry and fridge all the time, because then you just sort of start to get in a rhythm of what works for you, what flavors you like, and it's easy. And you always have something to make. I've turned into my mom in that when I was younger. And I'd be like, Mom, I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat. And she'd be like, there's stuff in the fridge. And it's like, no, there's not. Have an apple. It's like, oh my God, I don't want an apple. But now I find myself being that person when Josh is like, hey, I'm hungry. We don't have anything to eat. And I'm like, have an apple. Or I'll go in the kitchen and I'll bust something out. And he's like, well, there's stuff to eat. You just have to cook it. So, anyways, once you get in the rhythm of cooking, it's actually so fun and easy. And it's really nice to cook your meals at home because you're in charge of the quality control. So, and the flavor control. You make it just how you like it. So, I'm cutting my vegetables. I'm onto my bell pepper. And did anyone else add a different vegetable to their little medley tonight. And then the other thing I was gonna say, simplicity and why we're gonna make the lemon dill sauce tonight. I've learned over the years that what really diversifies the food that you're making. I'm gonna take some of my vegetables and put them in this bowl so I could toss them with oil. Um, but what really helps, because sometimes it can be redundant when you're trying to eat healthy and you're trying to eat clean, and it's like, yeah, I'm making zucchini and veggies and salmon, but this feels a little bland. So that's when I really got inspired to make the different like dressings, marinade sauce, because it's such a simple way to not only add more delicious, yummy, fresh herbs and ingredients, but it really jazzes up any meal. So you can have the dressing on hand in your fridge and it lasts for like, 3 to 5 days, and a simple recipe of baked roasted vegetables and baked salmon ends up turning out to be really yummy, because not only are the ingredients delicious, but the sauce that we're going to make is so yummy too. So it's a great way to switch up common ingredients that we use all of the time so that they taste good and they're healthy. I like actually don't historically. Now I like it, but historically I didn't love cauliflower. But now I actually really do. And especially when I put my sauce. Okay, let's see. Potatoes and green beans, since that's all I had and I didn't know I'd be cooking. Ah, I love it. Yay. I love that you're on the fly. What a fantastic way to be, Danielle. And that's a great example. If you don't have fish, if you don't know we were doing this and you have, a steak in the fridge, or you have a chicken breast or something, we could easily be swapping what that for the fish and all these same philosophies. So it's really about the sauce for me and the fresh ingredients. I'm also a sauce gal. I like my food to have a lot of flavoring. I'm heavy with the seasoning. I think that's actually enough vegetables for me. So let's see. Let's show you guys. So I did like a bowl like this, and this is going to be for the next few days. I think I should have a good amount. And so we'll set the rest of my cauliflower aside. And now I found it's easier to do this, to put everything in a bowl and then drizzle it with olive oil. And I'm super generous with my olive oil. So you can choose to be how you want. You probably need a couple tablespoons at least. And then we'll just, let's add some salt. So I rotate my salts. I have sea salt, I have Celtic salt, I have real salt. Tonight I feel like using real salt. Um, the only thing to think of when you're swapping around the different salts that you use, like pink Himalayan salt and like this real salt, are a little less salty than like sea salt or Celtic salt. So you just want to be careful when you're swapping around salts that you don't over or under salt your food. We also don't want to be scared of salt. It's good for you, especially good quality. We need salt. Salt makes food taste yummy. So don't be afraid of salt. So salt and pepper on my vegetables. I'm stirring them up in the bowl so they get nice and coated with olive oil. My oven is ready to go at 400. If your oven's not ready, don't worry about it. Just set it aside. Or honestly, and I feel like maybe the professionals might not like this tip, sometimes I just put my vegetables in before it's ready. I'm impatient a little bit. So, anyways, that's why I love cooking, because there are rules, but it's not as hard as fast as they are with baking. You can have a little bit of flexibility, and I like that. So I got my pan. Let's just pour my vegetables on there. Ooh, they're gonna be so good. It makes me so happy knowing that I'm gonna have all this. Yum. And then I'm gonna do one more drizzle with olive oil so they're nice and coated. Perfect. And now we're gonna pop these in the oven. And we still have the timer going from the quinoa, at least I do. So as soon as that finishes, it's about halfway, 8 minutes. I'll just keep that in mind. I'll set a new timer for my vegetables. Lately, I've been liking my vegetables. I keep them just flat, and I cook them for about 15 to 20 minutes. It depends. I kind of check on them. This oven cooks a little differently than my little one, and I don't flip them or anything. So the one side nice and like it and gets a good color on it, and the other side doesn't. If for some reason you're the kind of person and you want it more even, about 10, 12 minutes through when you're roasting your vegetables, pull them out, toss them around, flip them over, and put them back in. But again, it really doesn't matter. I just read today salt will curb your sugar. Oh, interesting. I love that fun fact. I love the participation, Danielle. Dan wrote in that she read that salt can curb sugar cravings. So um, that's awesome. Yeah, sometimes, we get really extreme with things and then we get on these wagons and it's like sodium, sodium. And it's like, well, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. All of nature's ingredients are good for us, right? Okay, so that's it. We're done with the vegetables. Our quinoa's going. Let's get our fish ready now. So I have salmon. If you have something else, wonderful. We're going to keep it really simple. So here's my pan. I'm going to just put a little olive oil on the pan. I'm going to place my salmon right on top. And then I'll drizzle a touch more olive oil on my salmon. I'm going to get the salt, give it a little salt, my pepper. I'm trying not to touch with my fingers. Pepper. There we go. And that's it. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. If you're telling me that this is not easy and that you don't have time to like pull a fish out of a package and put it on a pan, olive oil, salt, and pepper, and stick it in the oven, I don't know. I can't help you anymore. I'm only teasing, but I'm just trying to show how simple it is. Okay. So now in the oven, and I'm going to adjust my timer over here to 15 minutes, and salmon is going. I like to clean up in between a little bit, but because we're live, I won't, but I am going to wash my hands from touching the salmon. All right. And now all we have left to do is make the lemon tahini dressing. I mean, how easy is this dinner and meal prep? We're going to have extra quinoa. We're going to have extra roasted veggies. I mean, if you wanted to prepare ahead, I don't like eating leftover fish. I think I wrote that in the newsletter, but theoretically, you could make more than one salmon, or if you're making chicken breast. And so, this is my version of meal prepping. I don't per se have a day where I go home and I like cook bulk stuff and cut. It just doesn't work that way for me. I'm more and my personality is more to be sure that I get to the store, that I have a stocked fridge, and that I'm prepared with a protein. And then when I'm cooking, I just try to make extra. So whatever I'm making, whether it be a chia seed pudding in the morning, I don't make just one serving. I'll make like 3 or 4 servings. If I'm making grains, I don't just make one serving, I make extra. So stuff like that really seems to work for me. But again, these are all things that you will learn if you get in the rhythm of cooking at your house. You're going to find what works for you, like what little hacks, little tricks, and things that make it easy for you to be successful and cook in your kitchen. All right, this sauce is so easy and so good. And I want to say, sometimes for you guys to know, I'm not going to do it like that today. I typically make a lot of my marinades and this little ninja. It's like not fancy. It's from, I think I got it. I don't even know when. I've had it forever. And it's like the little blender that could. And I love using it for my marinade. Sorry, guys. Oh, gosh. It came apart on me. I love using it for my dressings and marinades because a lot of times I use like garlic, ginger, turmeric, things like that, and it blends it really nicely and makes it into a nice, yummy sauce. But sometimes it's nice to have that little bit of chunk of the garlic or the ginger, or the turmeric. So those are preferential things and just options. It's nice to have options. So let's get going. Have my actually I'm gonna start in this bowl. So I'll start with the garlic. It calls for 1 to 2 small garlic cloves. Um, if you like things a touch more garlicky, obviously, do more. If you don't love garlic, do less. If you're unsure how much garlic you prefer, you can always add more. So start with one small clove as suggested. And then if you're like, you know what, you taste it in the end, you can always add more, which is fabulous. So I'm just peeling my little garlics. I have my little garlic presser. You could also chop it if you don't have one of these little tools. You could just chop it really fine by hand. Just scrape this. Perfect. All right. And the rest is so easy. It's 3 tablespoons of tahini. So I have my 1.5 here. So I'll do 1 and then 2. And why do I like adding tahini? It's just adds a little creamy texture, adds a little protein, adds a little fat. It has a nutty, nice flavor. So that's really it, why I like it. Again, we're always trying to find ways to make things more nutrient dense. So next we have 2 tablespoons. So it was 3 tablespoons of tahini, 1 to 2 pressed garlic cloves, and now it's 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. I love Santa Cruz lemon juice. Obviously, if you have fresh lemons, that's fantastic. If you have a lemon tree, that's even better. And then we need 2 tablespoons of water. So I'm going to grab that. Here's my 2 tablespoons of water. And then it's salt and pepper to taste. And then it's 2 tablespoons of fresh dill. So because I didn't get the fresh dill, I failed my own assignment. Just kidding. It's not a fail. See, we have solutions. I'm going to use my dry dill and I'm just going to take like the center of my hand. Let me show you. And just measure like that. And I'm going to start with that much and put it in. And then we'll do a little salt to taste. If you're unsure, start with a couple shakes and a few shakes of pepper. You can always add more. It's hard to take away. So if you're newer to kind of cooking without exact ingredients all the time, you just always start less is more and you add in and you get comfortable. And eventually, I love cooking by eye. That's mostly how I cook. But I know that doesn't work for everyone. Ooh, timer's going off. So check your quinoa. Let's see. Oh, mine's looking good. See, mine's looking good. So I'm gonna turn my stove off. I'm gonna cover it. I fluffed it a little bit and I covered it and we're gonna leave it. Quinoa is done. Back to our dressing. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna get a little whisk, and now this is it. You're gonna whisk it together. Just be mindful when you first start. Go gently so you don't get tahini dressing all over you. And just slowly start to stir. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than this, guys, right? Fresh, yummy, delicious sauce, good salmon, roasted vegetables, a simple grain. It doesn't have to be complicated. We've got leftovers for tomorrow. And then the best part about this dressing is it goes well on top of all of it. So when we're ready, we're going to serve the quinoa, the vegetables, and the salmon. And then you just drizzle the dressing all over all of it. And it's delicious. All right. That's it. Mine's ready. I'm going to give it a little taste with my finger. I'm going to decide. I think mine needs a little bit more salt. So I'm going to go a little bit more salt. Oh, and we forgot one main ingredient. That's why it was a little off. Well, you guys didn't forget. I did. We need to add the sweetener. So we're adding in 2 tablespoons of either honey or maple syrup. I'm going to grab maple syrup. All right. So let's do that as well. Oh, okay. And I just misspoke on the amount. When I said that, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. This is why I rely on writing things down. So half a tablespoon or half a teaspoon of sweetener. So I'm going to just add and a little maple syrup. So it's just half a teaspoon, but it's up to you too. So again, always start small, stir it in, and then see how you feel. Sometimes I use honey, sometimes I use maple syrup. It just depends on what I have. And currently, I'm out of honey, so I'm using maple syrup. Makes all the difference. Okay, that's what mine was missing. So again, we had water, lemon juice, tahini, the maple syrup, salt, pepper, dill, stirred it up, and it's ready to go. I'm going to put this away. Let's check on our fish. Fish needs 6 minutes. Veggies are going. Let's set another timer. I'm going to do like 9 minutes for mine and then see how they look from there. And it's also good to remember too, with especially with, let me move this, with your vegetables, you can theoretically eat them raw. So it's totally preferential. If you like to just lightly roast your vegetables so they still have a little crunch, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like them really soft and kind of more mushy, for lack of a better word, you can roast them even longer. If you like them somewhere in between, this is the beauty of cooking at home. It's really your choice how you prefer them. I don't prefer mine super. I kind of like mine with a little bit more crunch. Um, and a little crispy on one side. So it's a fine line for me. They can easily get overcooked and they're a little mushy. And then you always want to remember when you're cooking in bulk for meal prep, if you're going to reheat it, they kind of cook a little again when you reheat them. So just little things to remember. And now let's clean up a little bit. So you have a second to put some of your things away. My mom always taught me to like clean as I go. So let's put our stuff away. So that if anyone has any questions or comments, how did your sauce turn out? Let me know how your lemon dill dressing turned out, especially if you had the fresh dill. You can't taste the. I feel like it's not as you don't taste the dill as much when it's dry. I do prefer the fresh, but this is perfectly fine too. All our stuff away. I need to get a bag for my cauliflower. Right? Even if you had for tonight a little, whoa, I almost dropped my measuring cup. And tonight, even if you had a salad on the side, guess what? The dressing goes really good on the salad as well. So I love when things are easy and good and healthy, fresh, clean ingredients. Doesn't take too much skill to cook. And you get to eat nice, nourishing food. So that's really it for our meal, you guys. Look how easy that was. I mean, boom, boom, boom. We just busted out a grain, some vegetables, a dressing from scratch, a protein, and it really doesn't need to be complicated or hard. While we're waiting for those things to cook, right now would be a good time, unless you have more dishes to do in your sink or you have something else. But while this stuff is just finishing up, it's a nice opportunity while you're in your kitchen to just grab out a little scratch piece of paper and start to take a little inventory. It's Sunday night. We got the week ahead. We need to see what you've got on hand. If you know me, I'm really big. Maybe it's because I grew up in the restaurants, but really important part of success in the kitchen and not wasting money and letting things go bad is to constantly be doing inventory and upkeep in your kitchen. So, at least once a week, you're going through your fridge and you're seeing what have I used, what have I not used, rotating things, and also seeing what you might need. Where are the gaps, so that you're not having very many of those days where you're like, shoot, I have nothing to eat. I'm going to eat out. And there's actually nothing wrong with eating out when you need to. There's always good options. But eating at home is so much better. So let me show you this little really not fancy hack. So you can see my cabinet door right here, this green stripe. Dookie, my dog wants dinner. This green stripe is a bunch of sticky notes. I'll actually bring my phone closer and I'll show you guys. How do I turn this around? Right here. Okay, this is my fancy like inventory that I like to have in my pantry. And so it's not even that I have that every single time, every single day, but it's nice to have it just right there when I open my pantry so that I have quick, simple reminders of things that I typically like to have and to remember to check for. In the fridge is just about having nice, fresh produce. Um, and other little side condiments that I like to have. I love having things like olives and pepperoncinis and um, fermented like sauerkraut and stuff like that. Again, that's that little bit of pizzazz, nice bits of texture, flavor, crunch. Yeah, yay! I'm glad that's helpful. So yeah, and it doesn't need to be fancy. So it needs to be efficient. I'm an efficient person. I'm not always the best with tiny details. I will admittedly say that. Coco. But I am efficient and I do get things done. And that's what I want to help you guys do is get things done in the kitchen so you can cook at home. And let's give them a few treats. They get liver bark. My dogs eat well too, in case you were wondering. So they're having some liver bark right now, and then they get fresh food from a local place we have. Fresh. What? Oh my God! Just food for dogs, and they get different yummy, healthy meals. Um, So how much water? Oh, 2 tablespoons. Two. So 2 tablespoons of the water, 2 tablespoons of the lemon, and two um, tablespoons of the fresh dill. I remembered there was three, and then 3 tablespoons of the tahini. Yeah. And then there's a PDF in the email that I sent out with the ingredients to get ready for this. There's a PDF of the recipe. So each time I'll try to do that. And hopefully over the year, as we cook together, we'll have a little, a little binder of some yummy fresh recipes, dressings, smoothies, soups, different things like that that you'll have on hand. And for me, I like to really reference, timer. So my fish is ready. That's it. Salmon out. I'm just going to leave that aside and grab my plate. So that's ready. Let's check our vegetables again. And I think because, all right, let me see how my vegetables are doing. I'm going to give mine a stir and see. My oven, I need a new oven, but we make do with what we have. Okay, they're okay. My vegetables need a little bit more time, probably at least for me, about 10 minutes. And so you're essentially just looking to see at what browning level you prefer, at what tenderness, and then you're going from there. So I'm going to put mine back in for 10 minutes. Fish is ready, sauce is ready, and quinoa is ready. So as soon as my vegetables are roasted, and if I was absolutely starving and needed to eat them now, they're definitely tender enough to eat. But since I'm not in a hurry, I'm going to let them cook a little bit longer. Um, yeah. So, anyways, each week I hope to bring you guys different, not each week, once a month when we do this cooking session, I hope to bring you guys just practical, easy ways and boost confidence and efficiency in the kitchen so that we get in the habit of cooking at home and it not being so overwhelming. And I can relate. I have a person in my home that eats differently or has different preferences than I do. So, as often as I can, maybe I'll even pop in how I navigate that. But for example, tonight, what would have happened is Josh got no dinner tonight. Um, but normally I would have made him a steak and then he picks through the vegetables that he likes and he can choose those. And then the grain is easy. So he'll eat the grain. Um, but yeah, we have different preferences. So I just try to make it as easy as possible for myself and try to do it in a way that I'm not cooking completely separate meals. And if it's a night that I am cooking something that's a little bit more intricate, or I don't exactly have something to whip together for him, um, there's always DoorDash. So, anyways, we got to do our best, take care of ourselves, do what we need to do. If you have picky kiddos, you take care of you, get yourself something to eat too, because it's important for you to eat, especially for you parents out there that are, and grandmas too, abuelas that are also helping with kiddos. You want to show, um, model the way, is always the best way. So make it fun, get in the kitchen with your kids. I know that I have confidence in the kitchen because I have grown up watching my mom cook, my grandmothers cook, my aunts cook, like everyone cooks in my family. So I'm super lucky, to have seen that. And you just kind of pop in and watch how they do it. And this is really how these live sessions kind of started originally, when I used to do them on Zoom and stuff. Is when friends would come over, we'd have such fun conversation, just cooking in my kitchen, making really simple food, and they'd always be sharing how they learned little tips by just doing that with me. So anytime you have an opportunity to get in a kitchen with a friend, I think it's always fun. We have something to learn from each other, and I'm hoping I'm going to pop around my family. At least I can harass them, but I'm hoping to pop into my mom's kitchen, my brother's kitchen. My brother loves to cook too, and he's a great cook. Just to mix it up a little, and it's fun to cook with somebody. It's nice to share the experience with someone. Being in the kitchen is a fun place to be, if you allow it to be. So everything is about perspective, and how we look at it. Everything does require a little bit of work, but it requires work to think about where you want to go eat, to pick out a restaurant that everyone likes, to go get the food, to go, everything is just a matter of shifting where do you want to put the work. So, if cooking at home is a goal for you, you can totally make it happen. Even if you're cooking 80% of the time at home, if you think about it, I always like to give this little bit of math. If, say, we're eating 3 meals a day, there's 7 days a week, that's 21 meals. So even if you can cook, all your dinners at home or something, or have your breakfast and your dinner at home and you eat lunch out, there's always strategies and ways to try to find the best balance that works for you, because we also don't want to make being well stressful. You don't want it to like be freaking you out and adding stress to your plate. More, we want it to enhance. Let's see. Yesterday, I thought of you when I threw together a butternut squash soup just because I had leftover roasted butternut squash. I was like, Boss would be so proud. I am so proud. See, music to my ears. You could even do that with these roasted vegetables, guys. So, if you wanted, you could take these vegetables that you roasted tomorrow, you could warm up some broth, stick them in there. You could add some herbs and spices. You could blend it up and make it a pureed soup. You could leave it as is. If you had leftover, say, chicken, or you have a chicken breast, you can always, boil the chicken into the soup first and shred it, then add the vegetables since they're already cooked at the end. Really fun, easy, fresh ways to make, delicious meals that aren't too crazy and complex. So, anyways, we have 4 minutes left, and I feel like, um, I'm gonna just pull my vegetables out so that we can plate the dish and pour everything on top. If you're still waiting for your vegetables to cook, no worries. Let's see. Oh, and you guys can also watch. I'll let you in on the secret of the pickiness. I am a picky child at heart, so I'd like to point out for anyone who's like, I don't like a lot of food, or you're feeling bad about being picky. I used to be extremely picky, and being diagnosed with MS, having to change my diet when I was young, really changed that for me. And I typically don't like, animal protein was the hardest for me. And eating fish, this is where I reveal, I feel like I sound like a child, but it's the truth and it's okay. Eating fish was like not, I did not eat fish before. That's for sure. So now you're going to watch me do, because I'm funny with salmon and I don't like to eat the skin. So if you get a spatula, you can kind of go right underneath and peel the skin off, but I don't stop there. And you guys can totally make fun of me. I scrape, there's like the brown part under the salmon, and if you're not a picky eater, you probably never even notice that this exists under the salmon. But if you are a picky eater like me and you want to own it and not be embarrassed about it, it's okay. We all have our things. I scrape off that brown part. I don't know why. It just kind of makes me feel better. So there's my salmon. Let's get a scoop of grains. Let's get this out of the way. Yeah, nice and fluffy, perfect quinoa. And the more you guys do something, the better it gets. Like now, when I make quinoa rice, I've actually gotten it down pretty well, and it's so good. Same with baking my fish, but it takes a second to get used to stuff. So don't give up. If you make something the first time, I always like to share the story of when I first started cooking. I was trying to just do something so basic now, and it's hard for me to remember why it could be so hard, but it's also great to keep you humble and to remind you that when you're new to something, something that's very simple can be overwhelming, and that's okay. And you're not going to give up. But I was trying to cook zucchini, just like sliced zucchini on a pan. And I'm not sure where I went wrong, but something went wrong. I lost my temper. I'm throwing zucchinis. I'm freaking out and I'm having a meltdown. So just give yourself time. Try again. If it's not perfect, you can probably eat it anyways. My favorite SO mantra. It's fine. Just eat it. I mean, we're eating the vegetables in the oven. I mean, however they turned out, they're fine. You're gonna enjoy them. Be good. Excuse my dog. He's hungry. And so that's my big encouragement right there. Don't get discouraged when you try something and it's not perfect. So what I'm gonna do is scoop out some vegetables, and then because I do want some of these a little bit cooked a little bit more, I'm gonna put mine back in. But for the sake of just wrapping this up and plating and getting our sauce on top, so we can have our finished meal, I'm gonna do that. Right, and let me pop these back in a little longer. Oh my gosh. All right, and I think my oven just turned off. I think it's an oven problem for me. Your vegetables should be perfectly roasted by now. All right. So, but again, we're not picky. We're just trying to eat nice, healthy, yummy food. Okay, so now I'm gonna just use a spoon. I'm gonna give my sauce a little stir again. And while it's nice and warm, I'm just gonna drizzle. And again, this is preferential. I like sauce. So I'm gonna give a little drizzle onto my vegetables, a little bit on my quinoa, and then this is it. Let's see if we can bring this over. And I'll flip mine. And there we go. A nice, yummy meal. And that took us like 46 minutes, but we're talking and hanging out. So, quick, simple. The kitchen can be already clean by the time you're ready to eat, and you have a nice meal. So, unless anyone has any questions on the live, that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll be doing this once a month. And I will be on tomorrow live at 8:30 a.m. to do Monday movement. It's a 30-minute movement class where I just like to get our bodies going on Monday morning. And then Thursday night, let's get this guy up here. And then Thursday night, I do a guided meditation about 15-20 minutes at 8:30 p.m. So Monday morning 8:30, Thursday nights at 8:30, and then once a month on Sundays we'll cook a nice meal together. So anyways, I hope you guys have a nice night. Enjoy the recording, and I will see you soon. Yay, I'm so glad it was Duke Remy. Okay, Duke is going crazy. Thank you. Bye guys. Yay, I'm so glad to hear it. Oh my gosh, Duke is crazy. My dogs are crazy. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. Enjoy your meals.